Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alice.
Hey now.
Greg, what are you doing here?
Hey, what do you mean? Allison,
Where'd you come from, Greg?
I came from the world of Childish, and I just want to make sure that your listeners know that you're just as wonderful on the other podcast you do.
What if they don't have kids?
Don't need them. You don't need them. A lot of our listeners actually tell us they don't have kids. We talk about sex.
We talk about all sorts of dirty stuff,
Yeah.
but also parenting stuff.
Yeah, so.
Check out Childish. New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Allison is your new best friend. Allison, with her the good times never end. Allison, Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Alice and Rosen is your new best friend. I'm overjoyed to bring in our guest in a few moments. It's someone that I always enjoy having on the show. You guys have heard me talk about this person before, but first I must catch up with the self-professed bad boy of podcasting, Tony Thaxton. Hello.
Hello, self-professed queen of segues.
You know,
If we're gonna call out nicknames, then I'm throwing it right back at you.
Have you ever met someone who's better at segues than I am?
Touche.
Mm-hmm.
Touche.
So A. B, I'm not 100% sure that was self-professed. Greg Heller may have called me that. Someone else may. I mean, I feel like my talent with segues, specifically segues into an ad read, is so off the charts that someone else might have deemed me, anointed me queen of segues. And I'm sorry to have to get so nasty right off the bat, Tony, but I think that I might have acquiesced to it being self-professed to make you feel better because we know for sure bad boy of podcasting is self-professed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't want it to come out this way, but I don't know what has gotten into me.
If you say so, you're the boss.
Thank you. How's it going?
It's going all right. I had something that happened a couple weeks ago that I've been going to tell on the show because it was real crazy. And I'll try and give the very quick version because I feel like I usually don't have any stories to tell. So let me give you this very quickly. I'll do it as quick as I can. A couple weeks ago, I went out to a bar and was hanging with a couple of friends. And first of all, this is a little side note of the story. They had the Dodger game on. This was a few weeks ago when they were still in the playoffs. And if if the Dodgers won this game, they would be going to the next round of the playoffs. And this bar we were at was also setting up for karaoke. And it was literally 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. The Dodgers were winning by 1. And, the game almost over. And people are there watching the game. And then suddenly the bartender gets on the microphone and is like, we're going to turn off the game now and start karaoke.
Was there like one person who's like, yes?
Well, weirdly, there kind of was a karaoke crowd. So like people surprisingly cared less than I thought they were going to. But I was like, come on, like 30 seconds. Give it like 30 seconds is all you need.
People
anyway.
Demand. Did you say anything? I'm going to guess you didn't.
No, I mean, I was one of the people that was like, what? Come on. Like, they did leave it on one of the TVs, but they just had the sound off then. And,
right.
But yeah, literally it was like 30 seconds later.
I mean, I think I've talked before about I don't enjoy karaoke. Wait, you do enjoy karaoke though, right?
If I'm in the right mood, yeah.
Because my theory was because I played in a band, I don't need to karaoke. But those might be separate. I do not like karaoke. I don't like private room karaoke. Like I have no interest in karaoke and I'm happy that I don't get a lot of invitations to do it anymore. I did go on a date with a guy. Oh my God. It's almost a trend. I went on two separate dates with guys where they brought me with them to watch them karaoke.
Oh yeah, that's not a good
No.
These were first dates?
It was a second date with one of them, and it was a first date. I don't even think it was a date. It was like this guy that I had this ongoing flirtation with in New York. Did I mention that I used to live in New York? I don't bring it up that much. And then we left a party to go to another bar. He chose the bar, and it was a bar that had karaoke, and like they knew him. He had his special song, and I was like, I couldn't be less interested in this.
Wow. That's not a great move.
Note to future suitors, should my marriage go south, don't bring me karaokeing. I won't be taken with it.
Well, that kind of sort of ties in where this is going. So,
did I cut you off?
Oh, yeah.
Queen of Segways segued too early.
It's fine.
Sorry.
Because this was really the point of the story then. The Dodger thing was a side note. So at one point, once the karaoke's gone, one of my friends had gone up to the bar. And when he came back, this girl was with him. And this friend has a girlfriend. He wasn't like doing anything, shady or anything. He was just being friendly. And this girl was by herself at the bar and she had sang a song already. And he was like, hey, if you want to come sit with us or whatever. And so this girl comes and sits with us. And he's like, hey guys, and I'll call her Sally for the sake of it. This is Sally. She's going to hang out with us. All right. And she seemed nice and everything, and hung out for a bit. Whatever. That was the night. The following morning, I am up and I look. I've been on dating apps, but like only kind of, sort of lately. I just every now and then will look at them, and I open this dating app, and that exact girl, a couple of days prior, had liked me on the dating app. And literally even added the comment like, this is a face I'd like to see across from me at a bar.
Oh, that's so weird.
2 days later, this happens.
Wait, what do you make of this? Is that coincidence, or is she like really playing the long game and being very subtle about it? What's going on? Did she realize it was you?
No. Because then, like, I did send a message to her, and she was like, "Whoa, this is really crazy." She's like, "Yeah, I sent that before we met the other night." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I realized. That's really weird."
But when she met you, she wasn't like, "Oh, you're that face." She was across from the face in a bar, and she didn't put it together.
No, but I mean, also, like,
So
would you? If I feel like I don't know if a normal person would. Like, you just see someone
I'm not a normal
briefly,
person.
and then, well, that's true.
And I talked over you. I didn't hear what you just said.
Don't worry about it.
I like to think I would, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I just feel like quickly, casually seeing a couple of photos of somebody, like, I don't know that it would like register later if I saw this random person.
So are you and Sally now an item?
No. I talked to her briefly. I haven't talked to her much more than that. I don't know. It was just a crazy thing.
This is my theory. I was never on the apps, but there were like dating websites back in my day. And my theory is they just deliver you people you already know.
I've definitely seen a few people pop up here and there that I knew, but like not too many.
Well, Tony, once again, I'm sorry that I cut off your story.
It's fine. I'm sorry to our guest that I feel like this went on longer than I planned for. So
you do owe our guest a massive apology. Okay, you guys, I am so excited to welcome back to the show comedian, actor, writer, director, person I love to talk to, and someone who is starring in a documentary about his show and friendship, tumultuous friendship, with Dana Gould. It is, welcome to the show. Please put your hands together for Bobcat Goldthwait.
Wow. Well, thank you, Queen of Segways.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And you got to hear it in action.
I could just, I only could think of Paul Blart when you were saying Queen of Segways. Wasn't that what he's on a Segway?
Yes.
It's a deep cut. And I really didn't know where that was going, Tony, when you said, isn't this a face I'd like to see? And I thought it'd be like looking up at me. I don't know where. I thought it was going to be much more blue.
No, we're working clean here.
Tony owes you an apology.
Yeah.
Do it, Tony.
Why do you owe me an apology, Tony? I
feel like the story, I tried to keep the story short, but I feel like it went on a little longer than...
There's not that many people going, damn it, let's get to Bob Scratch Goldfarb.
I disagree. I'm ready.
I don't want to hear about your karaoke dating life. Karaoke, yeah, that's horrible. It's never good. It's just not, I agree with you, Allison. I'm not down with it.
This is why in another life we're together.
I know. I really
Together, we're together, not karaokeing.
I wish I had my shit together and had a picture of you hanging on the wall. That would have been really, that would have been really creepy. Hey, hi, how are you?
Oh my God. But you know what? I have discovered recently that I am like really good at taking compliments. This has been a topic that's come up now on a couple different shows, because a lot of people, if you give them a compliment, they demur and they're like, oh no. And I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. So I feel like,
but that's healthy. That's the right response. When you deflect, you're either saying the subtext there is, oh, you thought that was good. I'm actually amazing, or you know what I mean, or it's a big ego actually when you deflect a compliment.
That was my theory, and I said it in front of someone who later revealed that she's a compliment deflector. So then I felt like, uh-oh. But my theory is that if you deflect, you're actually asking for the person to do another lap.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You thought that was good? After a show early on, I realized doing stand-up that I could find someone to say nice things about me, and I could also easily find people that thought I was horrible and the worst thing. So I just kind of made a decision to not listen after the shows and just, be my own barometer of how I did well or didn't do well.
That's so good. In Joyride, you make a comment about how you don't rely on, like, you don't need the audience's validation. I actually jotted it down, but it's going to take too long for me to, no, you know what? I'm going to find it so I can find the exact wording. Let me see here. Okay. Oh yeah. Your merit as a human being is tied to what kind of human being you are.
Yeah. It's not based on if an audience likes me or not. If you don't go out and eat shit on stage, odds are you're not doing anything that should be on stage. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just pandering to the masses and just being really boring. So, look, I still got it. The kid can still gut a room. Dana and I were in Texas, and there was this guy. His name was Caleb Wallace. He was an anti-vaxxer, and he had his freedom rallies and his anti-mandate rallies and all that stuff. And he of course got COVID. He ended up in a hospital and he died. And, and I was like, it's sad because part of his story, his wife's pregnant and they have 3 kids. And I go, it's sad. It's sad because I didn't get to watch him die. I really wish I was in that hospital and, yanked the hose out of his throat and said, hey, you know what? If you don't believe in medicine, you don't get to go to the Magic Medicine building on your way out and take a bed from people who really need it. So yeah, we were in Texas, not far from where this guy died. People just got up. And I'm just going, just make sure you tip your waitstaff and settle up your bar bill, So I still have that Goldthwait magic of gutting a room.
Have you always, though, felt that your merit doesn't come from your relationship with the audience? And have you always felt that if you're not, turning them off in some way, you're not doing something interesting?
Well, it's not, it maybe not turning them off, but I, as a kid, I was always kind of, nothing is what it seems. And so I always kind of, maybe I was cynical, but you'd see somebody who's portraying a wholesome dad, and that was always a red flag. I always knew the more wholesome someone was, the odds are they weren't good people, which sounds really bitter and cynical, but I was right.
Yeah.
I was ego surfing, and Patton Oswalt said, Bobcat Goldthwait's been saying Bill Cosby's a rapist on stage for 20 years. And I had. I just didn't know it was true. I got lucky. So,
and you were just saying that because he projected such a wholesome image?
No, because he did expose himself to my friend Marianne, who's a costume designer. So I knew that he was a creep. But before that, I still was pretty much bashing it. But I don't really celebrity bash anymore. Like that's something that's not in the documentary. Just as I made a decision to jettison this character that I no longer related to and felt it felt dishonest doing it. And even if there was people that were coming to see it, I had to jettison it. But another thing before that was I said, I have to jettison celebrity bashing because it doesn't make me feel good. And but then when we were filming Joyride, that's when like Seinfeld on his show, rich comedians talking about comedy till it's not funny anymore in cars.
Hey, that's my show. I mean, not rich comedians, but
but so he went. He was trying to make my friend Bridget Everett, the best I can tell, trying to make her feel bad for saying she likes me, and it's really ugly and weird how upset Jerry did. Now here's the thing: Jerry Seinfeld should be mad. I was vicious to that guy for years, but I had stopped doing it for 20 years. So when he did that, it was kind of like, I feel like in a Western where the gunslinger's retired and then Jerry shows up in the town square. It's like, Goldthwait. And I'm like, I don't want to, I'm out of the game, man. You don't want to do this, Jerry. And I had to put my 45s on and I'm like, but, to quote Alice Cooper, my shots are lethal, So, yeah, so I put my toe back into the celebrity bashing a little bit in the documentary, which is funny because one of the things I say is I go, Jerry Seinfeld's biggest talent is being Larry David's friend. Jerry Seinfeld, Larry David goes off and creates Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Jerry does a show in a car with a fucking GoPro. And then, that's what I say. And then we just cut to our movie where it's Dana and I just sitting in a car, but we're not talking. So I'm aware of that. There might be a little bit of similarity, but I don't think so. I think Dana and I, the stuff in the car on purpose, I put the cameras behind us. So you would actually, one, so we wouldn't be performing for cameras, and two, so the viewer would feel like they were in the back seat, with a bunch of comics.
Well, I want to get into that, but first, I'm just curious. What was, or when you first started bashing Jerry Seinfeld, what was your issue with him?
Oh, I if I really got down to it, it was I think that it just how he slighted me when I was a young comedian. He's very rude. But then later on in life, I build up this case against him where I'm like going, he's banging an underage girl, and he's I call him a Scientologist, which isn't true. He's a Scientologist enthusiast because I guess he solicited some of the classes. I don't know how long he was involved, but he still goes on. He goes on record saying it's a really great organization. It really helps people. I
didn't know there was an option to dabble in it.
Yeah, I know. They let him out. I don't know.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah. But
what way did he slight you?
Oh, I just remember I got off stage and people were kind of happy that I was there. I was at the Improv, and then I was walking out, and then his girlfriend. was or date whatever was nice, excited, and then he stormed off, and then later on I heard that he had been saying a lot of crap because I wasn't a stand-up. I wasn't, I wasn't, a traditional stand-up, heaven forbid. I wasn't sweating at home, trying to craft the perfect joke about where sweaters go or socks go in the dryers or shopping for the best sweater to go on stage. I always had a real problem with dating comics who would go on stage talking about dating because it was just like, really, you should just go, I'm stunted maturity. I have stunted maturity, and I don't listen, and I can't find a mindless hot zombie.
You think that's what they're all looking for? Is that what you were looking for?
Well, I think I probably would have dated more if I had shut up.
Did I tell you? So you were on my show probably like, I want to say 2012 or 2013, and then again in I think 2015, and then now, unless there's an episode I'm somewhere else that I'm forgetting. But I had interviewed Kevin Connolly when I worked at Time Out in New York. I interviewed Kevin Connolly for a movie that he made, and he jokingly but potentially is still bitter that wasn't he dating Nikki Cox, and then she started dating
and then
you.
I did. But I actually spoke with him twice, and it feels like we're on good terms.
Okay, good.
So, but the first time I spoke with him, and by the way, he has every right to be not happy. But
did you steal her out from under him?
I'm like, I got an ascot on and a thing of roses, but it wasn't cool. Let's just say that. So,
Okay.
but then time goes by and neither of us are with her, and I say, I run into him. I go, I need to apologize for my behavior, but I should also say, the time that I decided that I needed to apologize for my behavior was when both of us were the only two people in a gun range firing guns. So I was like, this is either going to go well or I'm going to be on E! True Hollywood.
That's crazy. You guys were both at the same gun range. This is more coincidental than Tony and the woman who loves his face but didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I love your face so much that I don't recognize it. That's pretty. I kind of think that was a line. I want to see you across. Yeah, but so yeah, we hashed it out. Well, we both had firearms.
I mean, I feel like that takes restraint.
I think that again, it's these cowboy metaphors, but yeah.
Are you a gun shooting enthusiast?
I have a couple of revolvers. I like shooting my revolvers, but I don't have any. I don't think that at the end of times I'm going to be defending myself, or my weapon of choice for a burglar is a baseball bat. It's not. It's like I don't see these guns. These guns are just fireworks that I get to hold in my hand. Look, I'm a progressive with a gun, and by the way, when the shit goes down, all the other progressives are going to come to my house because I'll be the only one packing heat.
You can defend the rest of the progressives.
Yeah, they'll all come in under my arms like baby ducklings.
So let's talk about Joyride. This is a documentary film that you made with Dana Gould. I didn't realize till I watched it that you and Dana were not friends at the beginning of your careers.
We weren't friends, but one thing that I don't think's in the movie is that we didn't hash it out. I was really cruel to that poor guy for years. In the movie, it just looks like, because he says, we didn't like each other when we met. And I'm like, that's not true. I hated you when we met. And Dana's like, well, I hated me. So we had that in common. So I was vicious to that guy for Dana for years. And when I found footage of me actually being really mean to him on stage, I put it in the movie. Like I knew I needed to be the protagonist in this movie if I was going to have a little bit of a narrative. And sadly,
the antagonist.
Yeah. Oh, did I say protagonist? I'm sorry, antagonist. Yeah. So I had to secretly, I'm the protagonist.
Right.
I'm the
secretly,
anti-hero.
I do agree with your compliments, but I don't. But I do. But I don't.
Well, let's break it down. A protagonist is the character that actually grows in the course of the movie, or story. So the reality of it is I guess I am the protagonist because I'm the one that starts off with this place, and then I realize I do the growing because I apologize. So maybe I am the protagonist.
I think you are.
But but when that scene comes in a theater where I'm being really vicious to him on stage, I can't buy a laugh in the theater for another 10 minutes. Like people do not like me, and I'm glad I put it in it.
Do you kind of like when people don't like you?
No, I want to be loved by everybody, like everyone does. I don't feed on that, and I don't go, the haters. I don't enjoy that. But sometimes, like right now, I'm a meme because of some things I said about cancel culture, and at the end of the day, here's what's going on. There's a marginalized group that are being murdered, and they have a high rate of suicide. So at the end of the day, if you're asking me whose side am I going to be on, a billion-dollar corporation and a multimillionaire comedian, I'm going to be on the marginalized group. And if you can't figure out and you have a problem with their lifestyle or all this stuff, I don't care. Just cram it.
Yeah.
you know, and there is no cancel culture. It's this idea. And people got mad that I said that. And it's like, I equated it to back in the day, there would be the morning shock jocks, and they would be getting taken down. The FCC is going after them, and their sponsors or management, and they would say, "Oh, the man is giving it to me," and it made their fan base feel like they were victims and they were supporting a victim. But the reality of it is these people just went on to make millions and millions and millions and more dollars. They might have to change up how they did it, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
If you can convince people you're a victim, you can make money off of it. And the only real, in cancel culture, the only real victim is the survivors and the whistleblowers. Because people figure out a way to still rip off gullible people that think they're supporting some outsider, and they're not. Yeah, so I'm preaching right now, but I
agree with you though.
But I feel like at the end of the day, I would love it if everybody said nice things about me. But the reality is, when I take that opinion, I have to say, well, why am I saying this? And the truth of the matter is I'm on the side of people who are getting murdered, and that's a side that I think everybody should be on.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I weigh in, I don't weigh in all the time. I don't make, I'm not on Twitter, and I'm not like finding a cause to say my pithy thing on any given day. I tend to weigh in when I don't see other people doing it, and then I do. But the rest of the time, I don't want to fight with Carl, 27, Oakley wear for life, as I say in the movie.
It is nuts. It is nuts how these people who say that they're being censored, they're being canceled. Then you'll look at their Patreon and it's like, you're making $72,000 a month. Like, my God.
Yeah, you're being. As Dana says, I'm being. They've got a muzzle on me, and listen to my podcast, muzzled, and so.
Yeah, or these guys who got Me Too'd. And I love that that's now a verb, but they'll like go fallow for however many months, pop up, and then suddenly they'll post on Instagram, and there's like 693 comments in a second, and it's a bunch of other. They have people rally around them. It's kind of nuts. I think you nailed it on the head. It's not. So it's if you say something and other people get. I think that's where Seinfeld kind of lost his mind, was because, he made a homophobic joke and was just shocked that marginalized group weighed in and said, "Hey, we don't like that," and that was brand new to him. The idea that people may not, look, there's people that don't like what I say and do. Obviously, what I'm talking about, making a joke, being glad that Caleb Wallace died. But the reality of it is if I heard from any of his people or anything like that, I would double down or I'd apologize. But I wouldn't say I'm being persecuted by the man. Yeah. Well,
they're a bunch of babies,
So what do you make then of comedians who are like, it's so scary right now. I feel like I could get canceled. I'm afraid to, be myself on stage. I could get canceled any minute. It's like really bad out there. What's happening to comedy? All that hand wringing. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think I feel my comment to them is good. Maybe you should look at your act. Maybe you should look at your behavior. I often hear people going, "What would George Carlin say?" He couldn't have said what he said. I know exactly what George Carlin would have said. He would write a really hilarious bit about what a whiny bitch you are, and he would call you out on your bullshit because now you're acting like you're the victim.
Right.
George said a lot of things that would be considered shocking, and people would raise an eyebrow, but he would double down on it or apologize. But I guarantee you he'd be making fun of these babies.
Have you ever gotten flack for things you've said where you felt like that isn't fair?
From a little bit, but I have to just consider the source, and I usually don't address it. If someone finds a bit that I do I tell that airplane story and I don't.
Oh yeah.
And people get upset by that, but I know my heart's in the right spot when I say it, so I'm not going to apologize. The first time I ever did that story, it was like 10 minutes into my act, and I was with Robin Williams, was my buddy, and he was there, right? So this woman stands up and she's drunk and she's like, says that I'm horrible and all this stuff. And she storms out of the club and she starts walking towards a door, and that door is locked. So then she had to walk back through the club, and she really thought people were going to leave with me, and she's yelling, leave with her. And she's yelling about, what a horrible person I am. And her friends stayed, and I go, did she leave? And they go, yeah. I go, is she really gone? And they go, yeah. And I go, okay. I'm not going to do my act. And the crowd's like, "Rrr." And then I was like, please welcome my friend Robin Williams. And so Robin went up. He did my allotted time. He did about 50 minutes.
Wow.
And then I came up and I got him off. And I go, hey, let's hear for Robin. And I said to the woman's friends who stayed, I go, so when she asks what happened after I left, can you tell her that Robin Williams did a show? I really hate hard.
So what made you guys decide to do Joyride, to make a special?
We initially got on stage together. We would go out, flip a coin, see who was going to headline, and then we realized people seem to like it more when we're just on stage flipping the coin and talking about whatever. So we kind of jettisoned our acts early on and just would stay up on stage. And it's not like a Martin Lewis act. I don't think one of us is the dumb guy. Maybe not unless Dana didn't tell me.
Sounds like what the dumb guy would say.
Yeah, the dumb guy would know. So, yeah, maybe I'm the shemp. So what happened was I was like, oh, we should film this. And then there was the car accident. But then we went back to film it. And then the pandemic hit. So instead of just picking the best show and cutting it into a special, I now could have the time with the editors to look at all the material and then all go back through our lives, go back through our history. I have a breakdown basically on TV, and he has one that's more, internalized, but it's around the same time. Just to go, so I was able to make a documentary versus just a straight stand-up special. And I find stand-up, even if it's someone that's, somebody who's really brilliant, there's a fatigue at the 40-minute mark. And I hope that our movie kind of avoids that, because you see footage and you hear about our lives, and hopefully that's funny. That's the other thing. It does get heavy, it does get dark, but the goal was always to make people laugh.
That's so interesting that you say there's a fatigue at the 40-minute mark. I had never put that all together. Is that something known in the industry, or something that you yourself have experienced? I just
kind of my own unscientific approach. But when I start getting squirrely, I look at my watch and I was like, oh yeah, it's just, it's 40 minutes, even if someone's brilliant. I think the only person I saw that avoided that was I saw Andy Kaufman, and it was just like this onion. He comes out speaking gibberish, and then he's doing Elvis, and then he's speaking kind of like that character, and then he's wrestling women, and he's got bongos, and then at the end, he's got us all with our arms around each other singing a kid's song. And I think he clearly didn't, that fatigue didn't set in, but... But also his act, he was like, I think this would be a good time if I was wrestling women. I don't think it was comedy.
Okay, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to find out more about the car accident, and I want to find out whether you were truly a bully. I want to talk to you guys about Skylight Frame. Skylight Frame is a digital photo frame. It makes such a good gift. Before they were even a sponsor on this show, Daniel came to me and he's like, I know what we should get the grandmas for, it was either Mother's Day or Christmas this year. And he showed me this super nice digital frame. And I said, yes, let's do that. We gave it to them. My mom, who is not tech savvy, got it set up super fast. It sits on their fireplace. And then whenever we go visit Elliot, a 4-year-old, and he was doing this even when he was younger than that, loves to like swipe through and look at the different photos. So what am I pointing those things out? I am saying it does not, anyone can set this frame up. Anyone can enjoy the frame. You can email photos to the frame. And it's just like a wonderful, we have one as well, and it's in our office. And I just love to sit there and to look at all the different memories that come up. So it makes a great gift. I mean, I'd recommend buying one for yourself. Tony?
Me personally, right now?
I'd recommend
I'm
you.
and I'm going to get on the website and order one right now.
I would recommend you personally buy one for yourself right now. I bet you're wondering how to do that. Let me tell you.
Yes, please.
As a special offer, you can get $10 off your purchase of a skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com and enter code Allison. That's right. To get $10 off your purchase of a skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com and enter code Allison. That's Skylight Frame, SKYLIGHTFRAME.com, promo code Allison. Tony, did you do it?
I couldn't type that fast and get to the website, but I am going to do it. And I also want to make sure the listener knows, when you said you do this, you weren't only talking to me. The listener can also do this.
Yeah, but I want them to be like Tony. That's what I'm always saying. Be like Tony.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Words of wisdom.
You know what else I want to tell them about? And Tony, this is also geared towards you personally. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. One way to think about therapy is with analogies. We get our cars serviced to prevent bigger issues down the road. We work out and visit the doctor to prevent injury and disease in our bodies. We see the dentist for our teeth to prevent cavities and other issues. I feel like you can probably understand therapy even without analogies, though. I'm a huge fan of therapy. It has helped me immensely. So many people I know are in therapy. I feel like if you're even the tiniest bit open to it, do it. It will help you. Did you say something?
I said, oh, yeah.
Tony, of all people, really. Anyway, though, it can be hard in this past, 18 months now? Going on 18 months, 19, 2 years? I don't know. The way we're living now, it can be tough to start up with a traditional therapist because they have just wait lists out the wazoo. That is where BetterHelp comes in. I have 2 friends right now who are doing BetterHelp. They love it. They love the therapists. If you don't like the first therapist they match you with, you can actually, if you don't like, you can change therapists. You can ask for a new therapist as many times as you want, no extra charge. So they will get you to the right person. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Allison Rosen listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bestfriend. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/bestfriend. Okay, we're back. So I know that you and Dana got in a car accident. Here's the thing. Because I have publicly professed my love for one Bobcat Goldthwait, people alert me of Bobcat. I have my own Google alert set for you in the public. Also, many, many years ago, I wrote an article wrestling with my, at the time, love of the horrendous art of Thomas Kinkade. And for years, I would receive Thomas Kinkade paraphernalia. And I'm like, I don't like it anymore. So it's you and Thomas Kinkade. It's not just you, but it's a special spot. But anyway, so I heard that you had been in a car accident and that, I knew you survived, but I don't really know the details. So what happened?
You don't remember flying to my side?
And saying,
that would have been,
please, let's make it official before you expire. No, I don't remember. I blacked out. I don't remember.
But I actually don't remember any of the accident. I don't remember anything around that. I remember being concerned about the little dog that was in the car, Bronx. He's a Frenchie. And I kept asking about, is Bronx okay? And I remember a little bit about that. And he was. He's passed on since. But if he was sitting in the front seat and Dana was going to get in the front seat, and then he saw Bronx, and then he was like, No. Let Bronx sit in the front. So Dana's low self-esteem saved his life because that dog just shot through the air like a ham. But Dana would have been killed probably.
Right.
But so Bronx saved his life. That's why the movie's dedicated to him at the end. But
whose dog was Bronx?
that was my assistant Emma's, and Bronx went everywhere with me, so people always thought Bronx was my dog. So I had a baby stroller for him, and I'd be walking around the street in New York, and people would go, "What's their baby?" And this, his little gross face. But I digress. So we're in the accident, and
you were driving.
No, my assistant M was driving.
Got it.
And then we were pulling into the venue like idiots. We could see the venue from our hotel. We did not put our seatbelts on, and then crashed into each other. I had a concussion and broke 3 ribs. Dana broke 2 ribs, and because I'm the headliner, I don't know why I have to tell you how I broke 1 more rib than him. And then I got my memory back. I got my memory back. Yeah, I'm real tough. I got my memory back. I'm like a Fabergé egg in a cowboy hat. And I got my memory back. And the funny thing is that they had signed me into the hospital. So they used my license, which says Robert Goldthwait. And the doctor's like, "Where are you?" And I didn't know what city I was in. I didn't know what state I was in. And then like on any given day, who knows what year it is when you go to fill out a check or something. That's it. So then he pulls out the big guns and he goes, "What's your name?" And I go, I'm Bobcat. And he's like, "You're Robert." And I go, "No, I'm Bobcat." And he's like, your name's Robert." And I'm like, I'm Robert. Like I was really hurt. Like I almost in tears. I go to get the MRI, and this male nurse, he goes, "You're Bobcat Goldthwait." And I'm like, "That's what I'm trying to tell him." Like, could you go tell that guy? Like, I was messed up. And even when I watched the documentary, when I watched Joyride, I can still see me trying to remember, So I'm watching it, and I'm like, and occasionally Dana would team me up to remind me of an old bit or a joke or something, and I didn't. It was like watching like Abbott and Costello if Lou Costello had head trauma. Yeah, these baseball players got a lot of crazy names. Tell me more.
But head trauma, there's like all sorts of things that go along with it, memory stuff, and then also, did you have emotional stuff afterwards?
Yeah, I think I was sad, but I was aware that I was thinking. Like I was aware that Allison just asked me a question. You need to answer her. Then I would come, so everything was an effort. And you truly get I got into a place where I was just like, oh, this is how I'm gonna live now. And it was, it's incredible. Like months later, and then now I don't have any of that anymore. Although it is weird just to know that there's these chunks that I don't remember.
Did you have anxiety about driving or anything like that again?
The cure was because amnesia is always a plot device in sitcoms. Gilligan's Island, the doctor hit me on the head with a coconut, and then I had memory again.
Episode of Charles in Charge, where something happens and then he becomes Chaz, and I think he hits his head again and then goes back to Charles. Really?
See? That explains a lot about Scott Baio. So,
someone bonk him on the head again.
Yeah. Let's get Chaz back. So I had, you were asking about cars. If I'm weird about driving,
anxious. Yeah.
I'm okay, but if a car runs a light or anything like that, I'm a lot better. But I would actually kind of freak out, and I'm sure my poor girlfriend had to deal with me yelping, but I'm better now. He says.
And then I also wanted to know, so I read an interview in the Chicago Reader, and I think that's the same interview where you made the comments about cancel culture, which have been memeified, where you were talking about you didn't like Dana Gould at the beginning because you felt like he was No, he was unoriginal. He was kind of imitating other comedians, specifically Tom Kenny, who's a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
And that also he was so weak. You made a reference to like him being weak, and that like brought out the bully in you. Do you consider yourself a bully?
I mean,
were you?
if you look at bully behavior, you pick on the big guy, although sometimes I do, but I was only half kidding, but I was like Dana. I could tear apart, and there was going to be no repercussions. That's the evil side of being a bully. I saw Dana as, I always thought, well, here's a guy who was derivative of Tom Kenny and some other people, and I'm going to call it out. I'm going to look like a hero, and I'm right, and they're wrong. But the reality of it is what I think why I really aimed a gun at him is Tom Kenny. I've known since I was 6 years old. Folks who are listening, he's the voice of SpongeBob. He's done a million things. But Tom Kenny is the funniest person I've ever met in my life. And there's no way that I wasn't derivative of Tom. Mm-hmm. I know that sometimes I'll do an impression or do something, and just me doing a version of Tom Kenny that I learned in 4th grade. So I think why you are what you hate, you are what you mock, as Mel Brooks says. So I think I didn't like that part of Dana that was me. And Tom Kenny saw me say that publicly, and he's like, you didn't steal anything from me. And I was like, oh, I think so. I think so. And then he said some really nice things about me the other night. And it's just very emotional. This whole week was just, everywhere I went, it was just one really sweet, emotional experience.
Did you feel that Dana was he Harold? Did he have success very young that you felt was unearned?
No, because I couldn't say that Dana had success at an early age that wasn't earned, because I got on Letterman when I was 20. So there was a lot of people that were mad at me for being, so I would never assume that, but showbiz isn't based on merit and talent. There's also a good portion of luck. And but you know what? I called the Letterman show cold when I was like 19. And I said, I'm a comedian. How do I audition? And they go, oh, we have auditions. And then I took a bus down from Boston like 12 or 13 times, and I finally got on the show.
Wow.
It was really naive to just call up.
But it worked.
And, yeah.
13 times later.
13, but by the 13th time, I didn't care if I did well or bad. I was, I did, and then I got on the show. But it was, 13 times. But that's not bad. That's a baker's dozen to get on a national TV show as a 20 years old. But Letterman didn't go, this next guy's 20 years old. He's like, this next guy is the weirdest comedian we've seen in a long time.
Were you like on with somebody?
Oh yeah,
crazy?
Camping with Barry White night.
I was thinking that you had told me about somebody that you were on with or something. Maybe I'm thinking. I don't know.
I was on with the first time was Camping with Barry White night, and then and I'm not sure who else but I was on a handful of times.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, I'm sorry for that interruption.
That's Tony. You're allowed to talk.
I know, but I thought I was
it's okay.
taking it somewhere, but apparently not. I'm insane.
I mean, think twice before you do it again. But in general, you are allowed to talk. Don't get carried away.
You need to think about your ad libs, young man. You better run them by. I need more ad libs.
Yeah, could you please email them to me ahead of the show?
All right,
and I will for approval.
Brush up on your witty banter.
Those 12 to 13 times, did they give you feedback? The auditions.
Well, they didn't have to. Like, by the nature of what I was doing on stage, some nights I'd do real well, and then other times they would bring out, like, it'd be like the staff's assistants, and then they'd bring out the people, and then I would just tank because people would go, what is this guy? I remember just going on after Jim Carrey, and he's coming in from Toronto. I'm coming in from Boston. Jim Carrey's going up there, and he's doing Kermit the Frog, and he's doing, he's singing the Rainbow Connection and On Golden Pond, and and there's not a dry eye in the house. And then I come out in a leisure suit with mascara and, I gut a fish on stage. They would go, what the? They just thought a street person had come up and got on the open mic. So, you didn't have to point it out to me that I had bombed. It was pretty obvious, the feedback.
So you and Dana, you had this rocky beginning. You hated him at the beginning. And then at some point you became like legitimate friends, right?
Yeah. It was probably around the time where I was deciding, like, do I want to be right all the time or do I want to be happy? And I could start seeing people as allies. And instead of having a Rolodex of anybody's imperfection, I just a little more bend, a little kindness,
How did that transformation happen?
It was the fact that I was so angry all the time and so upset, And I remember having a therapist who asked me if I have anything. He thought, I think he was trying to steer me towards making pottery. I had migraines that were, they were visual. So my eyesight would be all kaleidoscopy, kind of like the beginning of Family Affair. By the way, all my references you can carbon date. They're all they're ancient. But I so I had these migraines. So I had to make a decision to either be happy or be in actual. It was actually blinding me. Blind rage, as people say. So I'd have to do some work on myself and let all that go. And it still comes up now and then, but I choose my targets hopefully a little bit better. And instead of being mad at the whole world, I just go in there every once in a while. And it usually ends up being like like a large corporation that could probably help my career. But that's the kind of people other folks don't take on.
Where do you think where was the anger coming from when you were young?
I don't know. That's funny because Tom Kenny and I we were laughing about that. Like when we were teenagers, Tom always, like, we both liked garage bands and punk bands, but Tommy also had a real soft spot for R&B and soul music and roots music. But we were so angry. We were so angry as teenagers. It's like we were getting 3 squares. We were, we lived in suburbia, Tommy was upper middle class and my family was lower middle class, but we were all taken care of. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we were so snide. We were just real. Maybe it's a teenage thing.
Yeah.
But, then we find, what was considered punk rock then, it'd be like, the Ramones and the Jam and things like that. But it was also funny because it was like, it's like, we like punk rock. We like Blondie. But it made us freaks, but we really didn't care.
Mm-hmm. And no segue here, so I give up my crown. Did you move? Did you used to live in LA and you don't anymore?
I live in Los Angeles for 35 years now. I just moved in January. I live in Illinois. I am very thin here in the Midwest.
Is that why you moved?
Yeah, my body issues. I go, I need to move to a county where I'm the Daniel Craig, and I'm the Daniel Craig of DuPage County. Yeah, so I live out in the woods. I live on 1.5 acres, and
nice. We
have deer and turkeys and a groundhog and 2 foxes that are always in the yard. And my cats, they sit in the window, and it's the groundhog, they're really big. Did you know that?
I wouldn't have thought that, but I only know that from seeing
from the movie.
Yeah, but like any newscast also where they bring a groundhog out. It's like
it's like a beaver without a tail.
Yeah.
And Robert Smith and Anderson Cooper, my cats, they're like, that is the biggest mouse I've ever seen. And they lose their minds. So,
what prompted the move?
my girlfriend's family lives about 25 minutes from us, but honestly, 2 years in a row, we were in our house in Glendale looking at the hill on fire. And then during the pandemic, when I wrote a screenplay and I put together this movie, and I was like, well, I can live anywhere. You know, the editors weren't even in the, you know, I jokingly said, I cannot work from any city, but, but, you know, it's obviously you could create. And in fact, most of the stuff I've directed recently, very rarely was it in LA. So, I just, quality of life, you know.
Do you miss it at all?
I just was back home. My daughter lives there, and we had a really great time. But you know, between I miss my friends, but I don't miss the traffic, and I don't miss you know. I look at my whole yard is all, you know, it's going off right now because of the foliage. This is angry punk rock comedian. The colors are amazing.
I'm envious. And how did you meet this lovely lady? Don't worry, I won't be too jealous.
I don't know if I've ever. Oh, you know what? She asked me not to tell the story.
Oh,
but it was. Let's just say I saw her across the room, and I actually, and I said, I'm gonna go talk to my future ex-wife.
And she asked you not to tell it because it's too personal?
I don't know why, but there's a lot of bells and whistles and people involved. So, but I did see her and went out of my way to say hi to her.
Well, that is
it's a good story, but it's an off the air story.
That's so sweet and also very vague. Let's take
very vague.
It's so vague. It really brings up a picture that's mostly very faint in my mind.
I gotta tell you, when I saw her, I didn't see anyone else at that point. It was just that, it was like that kind of getting hit over the head with an anvil.
Oh, that is so sweet. Let's take another quick break, and then we're going to come back and take some questions from listeners. I need to talk to you guys about Rothy's. It's 2021, and no one has time for uncomfortable shoes. Tony, do you have time for uncomfortable shoes?
Who does?
No one! That's where Rothy's comes in. The number one word Rothy's customers use to describe their shoes is comfortable. Rothy's shoes are made out of recycled water bottles, which is insane because when I heard that, I thought, well, I don't want crunchy water bottle shoes. And then you feel the shoes, you look at the shoes, and they are beautiful and look like they're made out of like very comfortable yet durable fabric. I don't know what kind of magic or alchemy they're doing over there in the Rothy warehouses and factories, but whatever they're doing, they make amazing shoes, super stylish. You can wear them right out of the box, no blisters. They come in all these different silhouettes. You'll go to the website, you will fall in love, and then you'll order one pair, and then you'll become what word would I use to describe?
A Rothy's head?
You'll become I was going for something like more fancy, but yes, you'll become a real Rothy's head, and then you'll start collecting them. It's inevitable. So think
trade
about
with
that.
Your friends.
What'd you say?
Trade with your friends. Collect them. Trade with your friends.
That's right, like a sticker club.
Yeah.
Yes, you pretty much clear your schedule because you're about to become obsessed with Rothy's. You'll be part of a Rothy's community. I mean, we're joking, but we're not, because that's how enthusiastic you'll be about them. And also, Tony, I know you know this. They aren't just for women anymore. They now sell men's sneakers and men's driving loafers. Rothy's men's line features the same level of craftsmanship as Rothy's women's line. Durable, washable. Did I mention they're washable?
You did just now.
I mean, I know I mentioned it. I felt like maybe I mentioned it at the top as well. You can put them in your washing machine. This is the kind of stuff you'll be talking about with your new Rothy's head friends. They're better for the planet, rigorously tested for a perfect fit, wash after wash. To help you welcome the fall season in style, Rothy's is doing something special. That's right. They gave us the chance to share this super rare opportunity with our listeners and Tony for a limited time. Right now, you can get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/Allison. That's ROTHYS.com/Allison. Head to rothys.com/Allison to find your new favorites today. All right. And we're back. Okay. So I am on Patreon, patreon.com/Allison Rosen. Bonus episodes of the Friend Zone. There's a level where you can text me and I'll text you back. You can watch videos of the Thursday show. The video of this show is on YouTube, youtube.com/Allison Rosen. So go there and see what we look like. You can see Bobcat's hat. And you have a lot of facial hair going on too.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the Randy Quaid biopic.
You see all of that. See the spot on the wall where the picture of me could have been. And you can submit questions for guests. I love it. Questions for guests, all sorts of stuff. Patreon.com/Allison Rosen. If you sign up for a year, you get 2 months free, 12 months for the price of 10. Okay, so I solicited questions. I have questions from Patreon and on Twitter. Let's answer some.
When we ask, they send them in. They're wondering how you have been. So thanks so much for answering these questions from our fans.
Okay. BS in Education podcast asks, and I don't know what this is referring to, so I hope you do. How awesome is Amy Pearson Mendez?
She's great. She's one of my best friends. Amy is the AD. She's the first assistant director and second and third, and she's produced a lot of the movies I've said and that I've made, and she's always involved in everything I make, and she is the best. She's really great, and she also works with my brother Jimmy, who's a first AD. So she's the Goldthwait whisperer. Like she's always like steering us. Yeah, she's the best. So
Nice.
She's the one that, like I say, I'm going to go make a movie about Bigfoot, and she says, yes, that's a great idea. And then she's camping out in the middle of the woods with me and some Bigfoot enthusiasts. And so, yeah.
Everyone needs an Amy Pearson Mendez in their life, it sounds like.
Yeah, she's the best.
Tammy H says, Allison and Bob, did you ever find out how/why there were people at Allison's live show with Bobcat Goldthwait masks? I know the answer to that. And Bob, how are you doing with your grief for Robin Williams?
I think like when you lose a friend, like that, or you kind of go, you think of it like, I'm missing an arm and I'm never going to grow that arm back. I'm just going to get used to it. But what happens is sometimes when you're having fun or you're experiencing joy, you feel like you're betraying that person that's gone. Mm-hmm. So it had to take me a while to realize that person would want me to be happy. And that's a cliche, but it's true. That person would want me to be happy. That person would be very sad if I was sad. And I had to get past the idea that I could carry on with my life and have fun, mm-hmm. and not be, and feel full again. You know, like I said, I really thought it was just going to be this piece that was missing, but every once in a while it'll be something. And I think about them every day, and every once in a while something might trigger something and I get really sad and everything. But, you know, it's funny. There's a meme that floats around with him, and speaking of getting sent things, I get sent this thing, and it's a quote. It's a picture of Robin, and the quote is, I used to think the worst thing in life is ending up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is ending up with people that make you feel all alone. Mm. That's what he said in the movie World's Greatest Dad. Robin didn't say that. He had his business people that loved him, his wife, his kids, you know, and he had people like me in his life. So, you know, he died from Lewy body dementia, which was misdiagnosed as Parkinson's, and it's a horrible way to die. And he was getting misinformation, and he wouldn't have come back. But, you know, mm-hmm. people want to make it about depression or alcoholism or drugs, and the fact is he beat depression. He had beaten alcohol and drugs. This was a horrible disease that made his brain Swiss cheese.
Yeah. How many years would you say it took until you felt like you could enjoy life again and experience those things where you didn't feel like you were betraying him?
I think it was a long time, you know. I think it was probably at least like 3-4 years, you know. It wasn't until a buddy of mine opened up about his sister's suicide that it was the first time I got genuine relief. And mm-hmm. we both were cracking horrible jokes, and it was so healing, and that was one of the greatest gifts. You know, Adam, Kate, and Holland, actually, it's just the guy. But,
oh yeah.
But it still comes back. But that's the thing. If you end up surviving, I'm 59. You end up losing a lot of people. My friend Barry Crimmins that I did the documentary "Call Me Lucky" on. I was actually there when he. That's not true. I spent the last 3-4 days while he was passing away, but I went out to get some food for his wife, and I really think, even though he was in a coma, that he was waiting for me to leave so he could have a little private time, because his eyes opened up, and she said, "I love you. Everyone loves you. It's okay. You can go." Mm-hmm. And then he passed away. I never thought that seeing someone die is a weird. It's sad and everything, but on the other side, it's some kind of weird gift. I actually, was where during that moment, I definitely had wiggle. I make a joke about it, but not this situation, but that's where I think I went from atheist to agnostic in that moment. Like I felt like there might be something else here. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize we were going to get so heavy.
Just to stick with the heaviness for a second though, you said that it's a gift. Are you talking about death being a gift, like release?
Well, when I watched it, for some reason, I kind of believed that there was something else. Mm-hmm. I can't even explain why. But it didn't. I felt like Barry had put this force into the world. And that when he passed away, that this thing, of course, he wasn't going to be around anymore. But this thing that he set out there was so big that it wasn't stopped at that moment. Yeah, and that was it. And it was Barry. It was. I had to wrestle with him because he did not want to go. I was physically holding him down on the bed. So it wasn't like in a movie where someone says their last words or, there was no rosebud. If there was a rosebud for Barry Crimmins, it was the word, "God damn it." That was the last thing he said to me.
When the fact that it happened while you were out getting food, were you like, "God damn it"?
No, I mean, this makes me sound insensitive, but Helen, his widow, hadn't eaten, and I went to get food, and then I got a text saying, "Get back here ASAP." And I showed up, and Barry was gone, and Helen's crying, and I have the sandwiches, and I go, "What'd I miss?" And as I'm saying it, I was like, "I can't believe you're saying this." And then another part of my voice went, "Barry would really, really laugh at this."
Yeah, I don't think that makes you sound insensitive.
Well, but then we were laughing, and the doctors come by, and we were like those kind of laughs where you're crying. We were laughing, and they're going, "These two ghouls, what is going on?"
So, and yes, I did a show at Meltdown, Nerd Melt, the no longer there Nerd Melt comics, and there were people in the audience who had made homemade Bobcat Goldthwait masks, which with little slits for eyes. It was actually very creepy, but also
that would be really creepy,
funny. But Tammy, were you there, or did I talk about it? I can't remember. But anyway, they made those masks because it came up on the Adam Carolla show that I had a crush on you at a show that you were at, and I think we've probably been through this, but I remember thinking, haha, I can laugh this off. And then when it came up, I was like, I feel so mortified right now. I want to crawl inside a hole in the ground. I feel so embarrassed because you were right there.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, that happens to my shows a lot. People
come in with you masks
to me. No, that sounds like a horror movie. That sounds terrible.
It was funny. Okay, Lisa Lowry says, "What were the last 3 songs you listened to?" Oh, and you can choose which one or both. And what are the contents of your nightstand?
It's interesting. The last song I was listening to was, I don't remember the other two, but it was Great Leap Forward by Billy Bragg, which always cheers me up. I'm trying to think what else came up on. I just have my, I'm just on shuffle, but, what else was there? I think that was the one that remember. And on my nightstand is my CPAP, which,
oh, really?
Yeah, that ought to crush any crush out of
any
you.
crush.
It's a mouthpiece and it's the CPAP and
Yeah.
it's horrendous. It's like you wake up and it's like you're being assaulted by a robot. It's the worst feeling. I
Did
cleaned
you
that up.
have to do a sleep study to get your CPAP?
Yeah. And
Was
they
that as
go,
miserable as I imagine it?
Oh, it was just they go, oh, you stopped breathing 127 times. And I was like, oh, I guess I need this. But you know, look, when I'm on a plane, more than once I've woken up and I was adjusting my nuts. Do you know what I'm saying? So I can't. There's no way I wasn't rubbing my balls while this poor woman was watching me in another room. But I guess that probably happens all the time. I would assume that comes with the job.
Isn't that someone else who's supposed to say that to you? Don't
What,
worry about it. It probably happens all the time.
Well, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure I was going to town scratching my taint while this poor woman is being paid to watch.
It probably does happen all the time. Okay.
She comes in and puts a pillow over my face.
Okay. On Twitter, Ken Scar says, ask him about his Bono impression. I saw him do it at the end of one of his shows in the 80s and it was unreal.
Well, but yeah, I would say I was a little pitchy dog, but thanks. So I did, years ago, I did an impression of Bono, and then I got a call from him, and it was very nice. And it was before people were doing impressions of him, so it was brand new, and he was... And so my buddy Joel Murray and I went to see them at Angels Stadium, and I was in the stadium doorway, and I'm talking to him, and he's saying really nice things, and we're mutual compliments to each other, and he was very kind. And then he starts walking away, and he takes off those sunglasses, the fly sunglasses, and he goes, "Hey, Bobcat," and he throws them to me, and I catch him, and I say, "Thanks, Mean Joe." And it's such because there's that Coca-Cola commercial where the Mean Joe Green throws his jersey to the little kid.
Yeah.
It went over as well as it did with you guys. I was like, that was a really good joke, and it just fell deaf on his Gaelic ears. But yeah. So
now that I know the reference and I remember it, it really would have gone over well.
I don't know, but I thought it was a pretty good riff because actually it was even framed like the commercial. It was in the stadium, and he turned around. So I have those. I have a pair of his glasses that that years ago my Yorkie Sid Vicious chewed up, which I thought kind of made sense.
Okay. Brent asks, was there a period where you felt like you couldn't get good acting work unless you did your signature voice persona? If so, what was that like?
Well, I don't know if I got any good acting work doing that, but I definitely made a decision that I didn't want to be in front of the camera. And I did one role. I remember I was on what was it? The Vegas CSI or whatever. Is that it? It's a show on now. They rebooted it. NCI or I don't know what.
There is an NCIS.
So, and I'm like the comedian who's a murderer, and I do it all straight, and I'm like, and I'm acting very serious and heavy. And people were like, "Man, that was really good." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm out." This is so ridiculous. And it was my friend Eric Idle who said, you don't have to go on these auditions when they ask you. And I was like, I had never even thought of that.
Yeah.
So I stopped going, and it was so freeing. It was so freeing. In Joyride, I say at a commencement speech, but I actually trimmed out the end of it, and I wish I hadn't. I say it's important to keep quitting. Always quit. But the end of that is because it's so foreign. Don't quit. It's
right.
Like quit all the time until you end up someplace you don't want to leave. And that's the part where I left off. And right now, the part is I get to tell stories on stage. I get to make movies and tell stories behind the camera. And I think people that don't believe you when you say you love to be behind the camera. I think they think it's like where an actor goes when they can't get jobs. But I love being a director.
Why did you trim the sincere ending out?
I don't know. There's a lot of cuts in the thing where there was a reason why. Maybe it was just too corny. I don't know. But there's a clip where Kurt Cobain is talking about me, and then him and Chris are being nice about me, and then the drummer at the time, Chad, goes, I think he's a nice guy, but I don't think he's funny. I don't think he's funny at all. And then Kurt looks at him like he's going to kill him. But the reality of it is Kurt actually says, "You're the next to go." But I cut that out because I felt this poor guy is already the Pete Best of Nirvana. I didn't need to dogpile. But then I tell the story on your show, so I guess I still am. But, trims are made back and forth. I felt like I wanted to make sure this thing was not too long, so I did a lot of pull-ups, just because, again, it's comedy, so I didn't want you to be looking at your watch when you watch it. And the nice thing that's happened is so many people will tell me that they've already watched it multiple times, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah. You in Joyride, you talk about hating fame. You hated being famous.
Well, I hated being famous for just being famous. I was a spectacle. I'm also hiding behind this persona. I'm not myself, so people think they know me and they just know this persona. My stepson would just when he was little, he would go, he would just say, he would just be so mad when people came up. He would say, he can't see you when he's on TV. Or he says he doesn't know you. He'd be really defensive. So I always had, I remember once there's a clip of me smashing up the Arsenio Hall show that's in the movie. But that night I was coloring with my daughter, and she was probably 8 or 9. And Eric Idle's daughter, Lily, is her really good friend. And Eric and Tasha, my daughter, are really good friends. But the news comes on and goes, comedian goes berserk on the Arsenio Hall show. And, my daughter goes, ugh. I go, what's wrong? She goes, sometimes you act like you don't have a brain in your head. And I go, it's just comedy. And she goes, if it was just comedy, it wouldn't be on the news. Lily's dad's not on the news, which I thought would be funny. Eric Idle smashing up a talk show.
When you were smashing it up, were you thinking oh, this is going to make the news? This is going to, you were going viral before viral.
Yeah. No, I didn't think it was going to make the news. I just kind of thought it was funny. And this sounds quasi pretentious, but sometimes I was doing these things on shows, and I'd have a plan kind of mapped out. Mostly, how was I going to get out of the building when they called security? But there was bits I did that were actual bits, and then I just thought it was funny to not know where this was going. If you ask Pete Townsend, he'll tell you that he was doing some form of pop art when he smashed the guitar. But at the end of the day, he is an angry guy, and he smashed a guitar, and everyone that went crazy, and it was awesome. So,
both.
Me, it's just, I'm sure I was, like I say in the movie, I was trying to end my career, but it didn't work. It actually, suddenly Regis and Kathy Lee are asking me on because I set the Tonight Show on fire. It was really weird.
But Jay Leno was actually mad at you, right?
Yeah, he was really mad. But then he had me on the following week. People think again, when I ego surf, it'll be people who are banned from talk shows. It's no, I was on the next week.
Yeah.
But Leno, and he had right to be mad at me. But it was funny. He called I pick up the phone. And he doesn't say hello. He goes, Leno. He just says, Leno. And I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, so what, is David Letterman a good guy and I'm a bad guy? And I'm like, I don't know either of you personally, but from where I stand, you're both fucking crazy. And he laughed at that. But he said, what would you do if I came over to your house and set it on fire? I said, well, that'd be weird because I did it on a show you work on. I didn't do it to your house. I think I'm perceived as crazy, but I think I've always had a little bit more healthier version of knowing what was showbiz and what was reality. And my heroes were people like Andy Kaufman or Alice Cooper or Groucho Marx. Even as a kid, I knew Groucho Marx could walk erect. They didn't walk like a duck.
Right. Okay. ask him, this is someone whose screen name is just a bunch of dots, but it's a real person. Ask him about how that hilarious story that he told in One Crazy Summer about the little fat kid came about. I've always been curious if he or a writer came up with it, but I think about that monologue at least once a week because it's so funny.
Oh, that's sweet. That speech is Savage Steve Holland told me. The origin of that was I go, hey, I have this idea for a scene. And he said, well, if you could just shoot it in one setup and we could do it in this garage, we could film it. So yeah, I wrote that scene. But that was the scene that I wrote. But it wasn't until we were doing the commentary recently that I realized that there's a lot of stuff in that movie. There's a scene that's playing in a drive-in, a movie called Hemorrhoids from Hell or something like that. And so I directed that segment, and I don't even remember because I didn't think of myself as director at the time, but I had a second unit and I had smoke machines and chainsaws and it was backlit and it was all this stuff. And Steve Holland came over and he goes, I want to be on your movie. It had all these special effects and stuff. So I didn't even know I wanted to direct when I did. But when I was a little boy, I would look at a movie poster and I would not look at the star. I wouldn't look at the tagline. I would always go to who wrote and directed it. So it was funny. When Tom Kenny and I were little kids, Tom loved Mel Blanc. And he had a picture of Mel Blanc in his locker later in high school. And I had a picture of Mel Brooks. And I should have known then that that's what I wanted to do.
What do you love about directing?
I don't think it's... I don't think it's more humble. I think it's almost probably a bigger ego. But, I would say this, like when I'm directing a special of somebody and you can make them feel comfortable and they can do their best work, that's awesome. And when you put this whole thing together and it connects with people, my movies don't connect with mass popularity, but, when it does connect with people, I don't make popular movies, but I make some people's favorite movies. Mm-hmm. There'll be someone's like, dude, I love Shakes the Clown. And then they go, I hated that Bigfoot movie. What do you so I love that my fans from movie to movie, I lose them. I'm just trying to challenge myself. Can I make a suspenseful movie? Can I make a documentary? Can I do this? Can I be in a movie that that was the Joyride thing. I didn't know if I could do that. So,
and was that challenging?
Yeah, because I had to step back and be willing to make myself look unpleasant and also make sure that it was balanced and not all about me. Mm-hmm. And some cuts it was all about Dana and that was all, and then vice versa. Other cuts it was all about me. And then I think I finally landed on a pretty good medium where you get the idea that we're two friends and you see our families and you see our fights and you see our fights with ourselves in our heads. And I mean, people like it. It's actually, it's been getting really good reviews.
I loved it.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
And Greg Sirota, what do you miss most about your hometown of Syracuse, New York?
Salt potatoes. People don't know what those are. I have a salt potato tattoo. That's you take those small potatoes and you boil it in about a half a pound of salt and it gets all crusty and then you dip it in butter and they're only in my hometown. You can make them anywhere, but it's a Syracuse delicacy, salt potatoes. And if you can't boil a potato in a half pound of salt and put butter on it, you could just have someone punch you in the chest right in the heart. And you'd be like, I really thought I was going to die after eating a plate of salt potatoes. It felt like Buddy Rich was tuning a snare drum on my chest. But obviously I missed my sisters. I saw them a few times this year. I still go back to my hometown all the time, and sometimes people will be like, will reach out and act like I've distanced myself from my hometown. It's like, no, I go back to my hometown and I experience my hometown. I don't go back to my hometown as the local boy made good. Come see my show. That's gross.
And then lastly for the questions, Matt Shields wants to know, does the voice hurt?
It hurts other people. I think, yeah, did it hurt? Yeah, probably, but it's been so many years since I've done it. Like, even when I do it, like, as I'm telling a story, I'll do it. It's a version of it, I tell a story about meeting Grover, when I was directing Kimmel, and I was like, the most starstruck I've ever been. I saw the guy put Grover on. I knew it was, and he's like, "Hi, Bobcat," and I, in my head, I'm like, Grover knows my name. Grover knows my name. I was like, remember when you were near and then you were far and then you were near and far again, and then I was thinking that I clearly owe the Henson Corporation some money because this is the voice. Like, I saw Grover, can you go to 10? It's like, it's the same act, man.
Right.
And I think that was kind of it. I would say the persona I did was arrested to a certain degree.
All right. So let's do Just Mirror Everyone.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Okay. Do you have one?
I do. And it takes place in two places. I'll be on an escalator and it's usually a senior citizen is ahead of me. And in the back of my head, I'm like going, just hit him in the head. Punch him in the head. And I'm a nonviolent person. I'm never going to hit them in the head. But that's what I think when I see them. I'll be there and I'll go, you could just get a clean shot right into Grandpa's head. And sometimes the same thought will come to me when someone leans over in the car for directions. Like, they'll go, if someone leans over to my car and to talk to me for directions, I just want to punch him in the face and drive off. And I have that thought. By the way, I have that thought all the time. If I'm on an escalator and I'm behind you, I'm trying not to hit you in the head.
So it's not just a senior citizen; it's anyone.
No, it's usually seniors, though.
Okay.
I just think it'd be funny just to hit an old guy right in the back of the head randomly, just because also it's just a funny story.
I love that you shared this. This is truly the spirit of Just Mirror Everyone. I don't personally have this one. Sometimes with little fragile animals, I have the thought of like, they could just be snapped. Like, look how it's like it's an outgrowth of how fragile they are, I think. And then I'm like, why am I thinking that? Why is this? It's like an intrusive thought almost. Like, I have no temptation to do it. It's just an awareness.
It's when you're on a building and you're on the lip of it and you're like, I could just jump, and you're fighting with your brain about, no, don't jump. So, but excuse me, I'm sorry, but mine's a little violent. I just want to punch your grandma or grandpa in the back of the head on an escalator, and I cannot not have that thought.
Tony, do you have that thought?
I can't say that I have. Yeah, the thought about jumping, from height, like you were just mentioning. I feel like that's the closest equivalent of that I have. But yeah, no punching temptations.
I was in a hotel room. I can't remember what city it was in, but I had to close the sliding glass door and lock it because I didn't trust myself on the balcony. Yeah. And I don't normally have it that extreme, but there was something about that balcony and I just like the height of it, and I could not get the thought out of my head. Yeah,
I think it's that's the people who have fear of heights is that. But I don't have that when I can get claustrophobic when I'm actually, I get claustrophobic when I'm in a cave scuba diving. That's an easy terror.
Would you actually scuba dive?
Yeah, I was scuba diving with my daughter, and this former Navy SEAL takes us out, and so he points the turtles. He does the sign language for turtles, and we swim over the turtles, and then he points fish, and we swim over the fish, and then he goes like this, gives the sign for shark, and I swim over to the shark. And then I look, and and nobody else went. I'm the only one, and now I'm about 12 feet from a shark who turns around. It was just, and I didn't want to swim away. I kind of backpedal. I don't know. I just didn't want to look like a delicious seal.
Yeah.
So So the Navy SEAL guy goes up, so we get out of the water, take our masks off, and he goes, "Why did you swim to the shark?" And my daughter goes, "My dad's been swimming towards the shark his whole life." He points to the shark and goes, "Hey, all right, I get to see the shark."
Yeah, another thing to look at. That sounds terrifying. Is scuba diving fun? It's definitely not for me.
Yeah, I like scuba diving because when you're doing it, you're concentrating on breathing and you're seeing all this amazing stuff, so your brain can't go anywhere else, or it better not. And I love that. It's the same reason why I love to go out in my backyard and I chop wood. I chop a lot of wood. That's not a euphemism for something, but I go out there and I chop a ton of wood, and I fell trees with my chainsaw. And I'm on a
taking
group.
to forest life.
I'm on a group text with Tom Kenny, and he's like, "You guys, Bobcat shouldn't have a chainsaw. This isn't even funny. I don't think you understand." Like, he's really upset. But like, I'll be doing a Zoom meeting and I'm sitting there going, I got that new axe. That new axe came from Amazon. I got to go out there and get that axe going. So I have 3 axes.
Wow. Do you have a shed for all your garden tools?
Yeah, I have the murder shed. It's probably like 70 years old. And I bought one of those custom wood signs that says, the Geen family. And that's above my shed. And my daughter called me the other day. She's like, "Dad, why didn't you call it Shed Geen?" She was like, it was right there.
And lastly, do you have a "Hey, go fuck yourself"?
Yeah, I it's what I touched upon earlier. Anybody who's whining about there being a cancel culture, they can go. I would say the people. Oh wait, let me do it right. So, I find it like people trying to pretend that they're victims because they can't be bigoted anymore. Those kind of babies that are whining about the culture. So, I would say people who act like victims because of cancel culture can go,
Hey, go fuck yourself.
There it is.
There it is.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I always love catching up with you. This was no exception. Everyone go out, watch Joyride. It is streaming everywhere now. Plug anything you'd like to plug, tell them where they can find you, etc.
Oh, that's it. Joyride and is on like iTunes or Amazon, anywhere you can stream stuff. And the other stuff, I'm just on Instagram. You won't see me on fighting with strangers on Twitter. That made me laugh. Somebody direct messaged me. He goes, "I can't believe I'm arguing with Bobcat Goldthwait on Twitter." And I'm like, I can't believe it either because I'm not on Twitter. All right. Well, so good to see you guys.
So good. If you enjoyed what you're hearing, please make sure to leave us a nice comment on Apple Podcasts. That helps out the show. 5 stars, please. That's my favorite number.
I'll plug Bizarre Albums. I love Tony's podcast. It's one of the few podcasts I listen to. I love it. I can't wait when it drops.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Thank you.
Follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. Tony, what about you?
Well, he already did half of it. So yeah, just Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
And those episodes are every Tuesday. And the Motion City Soundtrack Tour is coming up less than 2 months away suddenly. It seemed forever away, and now here we are. So get those tickets if you haven't gotten those yet.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobcat. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Yeah, Allison Rosen is your new best